How's it going, guys? Welcome back to another episode of the Z Garage, and today we are continuing work on the Z, getting the bodywork done on the back half of this car so we can go ahead and paint it here very soon. So I apologize up front. The posting schedule for this this batch of videos of all the bodywork is kind of going to get a little messy. I kind of took, I think it was like a month and a half to film the last video, and then this one we're making tons of progress. So everything's kind of getting like really close to each other, and I do want to make that live stream video of painting the Z like I showed in the last or the end of the last episode. So all that basically means is that this video might end up being really close to the last video, which might end up being really close to the live stream. So you might kind of just get hit with a bunch of content all at once. So I apologize if that's the case. But I do want to kind of show it, I want to show everything. So that's just kind of how it is. So as you can see, I've got the car kind of wrapped in a bunch of plastic. We went ahead and started sanding down a bunch of stuff. So I made tons and tons of progress. I think I've spent like 15 hours at least sanding this car at this point, and it has been an experience. It's sanding. It's a lot of fun for the first 30 minutes. But yeah, so I'll go ahead and pick you guys up and take you around here to show you kind of what's going on. The quarter panel over there, I dug down really deep into all of the seams just so we could go ahead and make sure we got it as good as possible. And it was definitely required because what I found was pretty rough. Just in terms of what the previous body shop did, the car itself is going to be fine. So I think it's going to be good. Went ahead and started sanding everything here. The only game plan that I'm not 100% sure is if I'm going to remove the doors for paint or not. That is still kind of up in the air, so I'll figure that out at some point. And then I have a tutorial on how to remove the T-top seals and the door seal trim. So if you guys are interested in that, go check that out. I think it should have come out before this video on like a separate day. It's just a short tutorial, so nothing too crazy there. But yeah, let me go ahead and pick you up and take you around the car, kind of show you where we're at right now, and we'll just jump right back into getting more sanding done. It's almost close to being done with the sanding, and then we're going to go ahead and what you should use is an epoxy primer. It doesn't label itself as an epoxy primer, it's a self-etching primer, but it's for use on bare metal, which is going to be really good for sealing it in, because the people who did the bodywork on this they put the Bondo directly on the metal, and I don't know if you don't know this, but if you don't, Bondo will absorb moisture. And so all those little tiny cracks with all like the little tiny rust spots that we were seeing earlier is because they put Bondo directly on the metal, and then at some point the paint kind of got eroded away enough to where moisture got in, and it just kind of started cracking and rusting a tiny little bit. So there's no real rust on this car, but they just did it in the wrong order. So we're going to prime over that and then body fill, make everything smooth. And then we're going to do another layer of priming on top just to make sure everything is nice and smooth. Again, just a high fill primer. We'll block that down until it's nice and flat. And then we're ready for paint. So let's go ahead and jump over and see what's going on. All right, guys, as you can see, we are on the side of the car with the replaced quarter panel, and I took it down to metal all in this area right here. That's mainly because if you remember the last video, there was a whole section right here that was all cracked and it was gross, and I was like, I want to go down all the way to bare metal, make sure A, we have good bare metal underneath it, and then B, try to figure out kind of why it cracked and go, do a better job so that it doesn't do that in the future, and I'm glad I did. So this isn't actually what it came out as when I took it all down. This was just a bead of weld, and I've since ground it down. So I know it might be a little bit difficult to see, but now it is fairly smooth. Before it had a good millimeter or two thick bead, and then another millimeter or two thick of just Bondo on top of it, and then there was that ridge here. It was really weird. I think what they did is they welded this up and then just put a massive amount of Bondo over this whole area, just to kind of bridge it up and then down again. So this whole area I took out tons and tons of Bondo because they were leveling it. There was a huge chunk that came out of right here. It was crazy. And so I was like, okay, well, if I go ahead and smooth down this weld, I didn't want to go too far to accidentally break it so that there's no more joint between these two pieces. But I smoothed it out a decent amount. So now we don't have to go in here with nearly as much Bondo as before. I think that's going to be a much better alternative to what they did. And it's also going to save me a lot of time trying to shape all of that Bondo. I genuinely can't believe that they decided to put so much Bondo on here as opposed to just grinding this weld smooth. It didn't make much sense to me. So Regardless, I have this guy down to metal. He's nice and smooth now. This whole quarter panel, it might be a little bit difficult to see, but this like kind of gray here is over this whole quarter panel. You can see right there, there's more of it. This was the seam where they cut right there. This whole quarter panel just has a ton of Bondo on it. It is super annoying because, like I was saying, that they put it on top of the bare metal. So that's going to be able to allow moisture in. So this whole quarter panel, we're really going to focus on spraying a nice layer of the sealer primer on it because I want to try to seal in as much of this as possible so that we don't end up getting any moisture in there in the future and causing more issues with either the metal itself or the paint like was being shown before. So this is all looking good. See if I can come over here for you guys. So I went ahead, sanded this down as well. And then the interior of here, see if I can get over this way for you guys. So they redid the seam sealer along this kind of groove right here. And I took my wire wheel right there and I wire wheeled it all out because it was looking really bad. You can see these are the spot welds that they put in here. Some of them not quite as beautiful as they really ought to be. I think these holes here are the original spot welds, and then that's where they welded back. So this whole area is going to need seam sealer right here along this upper portion. I'm gonna go ahead and reseal that as well. So this is what the stock side looks like for comparison. If I can get you in here. So I didn't actually take the seam sealer out because it's still in good condition, but I did go ahead and sand all of this down. So it is looking much better. You can see what that corner looks like right there. And then this corner up here, obviously I took all of the gunk out of it, but we're gonna go ahead and fill in a lot of this area here with some new seam sealer and then smooth it out. And then we're gonna prime under it and then we'll do that so we can go ahead and make sure we seal in any of that metal that's in here. Down here, you can see this is kind of where this quarter panel overlaps the inner piece here, and they just filled this in with Bondo so it was smooth. This is what the stock side looks like. So I'm going to go ahead and pretty much copy as well as I can what this side looks like over here. They did fill in a ton of Bondo in these areas. This panel is pretty wavy going up and down. You might be able to tell right there where it's pretty wavy. Personally, I don't care too much if this is a wavy panel. I'm not going to spend tons and tons and tons of time making this super straight because I don't really care too much. It's inside the hatch. Pretty much nobody's going to see it. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure this line is straight because you can well, that's actually just paint right there. I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that this outward line is straight. I don't really care too much about the interior here. So that's pretty much my approach. I will go ahead and obviously put some high fill primer in here to get a little bit of the imperfection, but I'm not going to go absolutely crazy with this because it is just going to be a waste of time in the long run, in my opinion, because this is not a show car. That's not what I'm building this for. I just want it to be nice. So same thing down here. I went ahead and ground down around the taillight assembly because I think that they re-welded this because that does not look like a factory weld. Even though I'm pretty sure these are factory welds and they look kind of globby as well. So very interesting, but we'll go ahead and put a little bit of seam sealer down here as well. Nothing too crazy. Not too much work needs to be done in this area, thankfully. Came down here and this spot I am gonna have to go, I haven't done any work here yet. I will go ahead and clean up some of this area here. This is what they re-welded and then around here as well. So we'll go ahead and clean that up. Overall, not too bad. You can see there's a little bit of work around here in the arches and everything, so that's nothing too crazy. I just sanded that smooth. I do need to still do interior fender well kind of work on these everywhere around, so that is on my list to do still. And then I filled in these holes here. See if I can get you guys a good view. So this is the rear side marker, and then these are two holes. You can kind of see the darker right there and the darker right there. These were holding in that rear trim piece. So this is fiberglass body filler. I put some in the front and inside the quarter panel behind with one of those mesh screens to go ahead and give it a little bit of structure. I could sand this more, but I think I'm gonna go ahead and put some primer on top and then kind of see how it looks. Shape-wise, I think it's pretty good. And I kind of like having a little bit of flange almost on top of this so that we don't end up, cracking down into it somehow. So I think that's pretty good. I did the same thing on the other side. We'll jump over here. This side has been so much better than the other side has because it's OEM. Actually, I wanted to show you guys, see if I can, let me come over this way. So the T-tops here, clearly they replaced and repainted this whole back quarter, but I wasn't quite sure how far forward they went on this. So I removed these guys here and the wind deflectors up here just to sand it all down to give the new paint some grip. I still need to go ahead and go over the T-top drains because those are looking a little gross. But up here, you can see I sanded down, this was like a chip in the roof, and we have the brown body fill underneath still. And then over here, you can see I sanded down and there's gray body fill or primer below it. So I think they actually repainted this half of the car, or at least sanded down and repainted this half of the car, because I don't think that brown is a stock body fill. I think that's what the company used for this. So I think they went at least up to here and filled in a lot of this area. And there was a place, I don't know if I can see it anymore, where I was sanding down and you could see two distinct paint colors. I want to say it's actually right here. If you can tell, this white and this white are different colors. It might be, I don't know if it's hard to tell or not. This is a much kind of softer yellow, and this is a much like kind of harder blue. I think the harder blue is the original paint color, and then they painted on top of it. So very interesting. I think that they just kind of did who knows what with this area here. But then, so we're taking it all down as far as we can. Realistically, if I had known exactly how this car was in that quarter panel, I would have just had it sandblasted so we got down to bare metal everywhere. Just because I'm not super confident in this older paint holding up as well, at least on that quarter panel. I think most of this side is original paint. It's kind of hard to tell, but I'm kind of concerned that that side is, they put the body filler over the metal instead of priming it. So I think that is my biggest concern, but I do not have the time or motivation to take this car down to bare metal everywhere. So we're just gonna deal with that as is. Yeah, you can see here's more of the gray kind of primer underneath. This side, much better. The interior here of this quarter panel is the stock color. So see if I can, it's too bright for you guys. Yeah, I was just going to show. It's a little yellower, and then the paint faded over time, obviously, to the, what was exposed to the sun. So that is kind of fun and interesting to see. Nothing too crazy, a little bit of body work right there. I had filled that in previously. Going to go ahead and do over that again. Same thing, I filled in these holes right here. I went a little bit more aggressive, trying to get this kind of down to a nice smoother finish. This is what this area should look like on this side, as you can see. Much cleaner, a lot less garbage and gunk around here. So we'll clean the other side up, see if we can get similar. And then the next thing, after finishing up all of the detail work on that side and then the interior fender well on this side as well, we're going to be moving on to the doors. This door I already removed the vinyl wrap from. The other door I still have vinyl wrap on, so it's going to be a thing I need to work on. I do want to remove these door handles, but from looking at them, see if I can get this for you guys real quick. When I kind of come into the interior, the door handle is up there, so I'm gonna have to be able to remove the glass. See if I can get a light for you guys. All right, I don't know how well you can see, but the door handle is up there, and there's a couple 10 millimeters kind of up there to the right. I think that's what's holding the door handle on. So I do need to move the glass, and unfortunately for me, if you remember, this has not been, the switch has not been moving this up and down, so I think I'm going to have to manually jump the pins to make the motor go up and down, which won't be the hardest thing in the world, but we do want to remove the door handle. Yeah, it's kind of hard for this camera to focus in there. But we do want to get this out of here so we can go ahead and paint around it properly, instead of what the last guys did and just kind of, not do a good job. You can see that there's, kind of paint markings along the outside. So we'll clean those up at the same time. So I know that was a lot of rambling, but we're making really good progress. I am pretty excited for how this is coming along. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this, guys. I'll let you know how we are doing as we keep moving forward. Nothing too crazy as of yet. So I'm really looking forward to it. This is looking really, really good. And yeah, so we'll pick up once I get more sanding done, I guess. All right, guys, so we have got tons and tons more sanding done. I've gotten actually almost to the point where I was like, yeah, I think I'm almost ready to prime. And then I started working on this back section here. And let me see if I could show you real quick. So I did start sanding this area.
I think that this is clear coat that you can see in here. So I'm going to keep sanding this, keep going down a bit further. I don't think this paint is going to have any issue adhering, but I want to kind of minimize the amount of sanding I'm going to have to do when I do the filler primer. So we're going to keep working on that. And then I was like, okay, let me come down over to this little spot right here. I don't remember if I showed this or not already, but this had a bunch of like seam sealer and rust. So this is the replaced quarter panel. And so I went ahead and started removing all of that. You can see it's pretty gross. They did not do a great job. And as I was following it, it came down here, you know, still gross replaced quarter. And as I'm looking at this whole thing, I'm realizing they actually replaced this entire back piece as well. So that's why these are all gross. And I was comparing them to this side and they're the same. So these guys were replaced. You can see I've used a wire wheel on this. They went ahead and put seam sealer all through here, all along the outside of this. You can see that it is just a little bit rusty and kind of gross that they replaced it. So I've come to the conclusion that whoever did this work, replacing the quarter panel and this back panel, they didn't either they didn't paint correctly when they put the paint on because it's all rusted underneath the metal, or they put the wrong kind of paint. So one of the two, but basically that means I just have to redo this whole bottom piece here. I was hoping that I'd be able to get away with it because it's under the bumper, basically from this lip down. But I do have to go ahead and now rough up all of this because it's going to need paint because I really don't want this to rust. I'm not in a rusty area, but if I ever move to or travel to a place that has humidity, I don't want this becoming an issue. So we have to go ahead and do a bunch more work now to get this rear panel all kind of ready for paint. So it's not the best thing in the world. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world either. We'll keep working on it. They just really didn't care with some of these. It's kind of hard to tell, but these are just huge globs of weld. They really did not give a single toot. So yeah, it's fun and interesting. So I have this back piece here left to finish up, and then I have the interior of the fender arches, and then right where the side skirts go. So basically just anywhere along the bottom right here. See if I can get a good view. This area is of course hidden by the side skirt, but we're gonna wanna go ahead and paint it anyways to get it nice and clean. Thankfully, because it is behind a side skirt, it doesn't have much damage to it. So I think it's just gonna be cleaning it and scuffing it. There are these inserts that the side skirt actually bolts into. So I don't think we're gonna get those out. I think we'll end up just painting over them, but that's not really an issue for me because like I said, these are hidden by the side skirts. So looking really good. I still need to clean up this area here actually as well. And this area on both sides. But yeah, so it's looking really good. It's taken a bit longer than I was expecting, but that's kind of how the name of this game is. So I'm looking forward to it, and I'll update you guys when we find something new. All right, guys, as you can see, we have made some progress on the Z. So I went ahead and spun it 180 degrees. I put the wheels on some dollies. I have wooden ones in the back and then actual metal ones in the front. I already had the wooden ones, and I just bought some metal ones from Harbor Freight on Black Friday. So that was pretty cool. They were pretty cheap. So we spun the car around. One, because I needed more room. You can see there's plenty of room on this side now to be able to open the door and everything. But also I wanted to get the front of the car towards the garage doors because that's going to be the coldest section of the garage. I did some tests. We're able to actually get it really warm in here, so I'm pretty excited. I don't think we're going to have any issues with painting. But I did want to go ahead and make the coldest section the section that we're not going to be painting in. So over there is going to be over there is going to be a little bit colder than over here. It also gives us plenty of working room around this side of the car to get the gun, to get the lines and everything. It'll be really good. So other things that I did, I went ahead and cleaned up this side of the car that was facing that other wall earlier. Pulled a ton of Bondo out of this section right here where they did the seam for the quarter panel. I'm probably gonna go ahead and clean this up a little bit more because it is still looking kind of nasty. Pulled the kick panels right there, sanded all of this. The sanding I still need to do a little bit up in here because the quarter is so gross. And then I need to remove the gunk on this side, sand it up, and kind of do something around the T-top drains on all four of them because they're all kind of a little gross. You can see I was picking at this one, you might be able to see, and it's kind of rusty. So I think we're going to end up priming over that and then seam sealing around here to go ahead and give it a little bit more durable of a finish. But all that to say, we're very, very close to being done with sanding. So just a little bit more cleanup in a few special areas, and then I think we're going to be good. I made the determination that I'm going to go ahead and paint the doors on the car. I wasn't originally planning on doing this, but I did spend like half an hour trying to pull the harness out of the interior, and it is just a pain, or at least the way that I was thinking it's going to have to go is that it's a pain. I'm gonna have to probably remove the dash in order to do it, and I don't want to do that. It's kind of a waste of time. I'm on a slight time budget, so hopefully we can get that done. Just on the car here, the only corner I'm really worried about is right down there with this open. But on both sides, the paint there is already very good. So we're going to go ahead and sand this up. I'm going to go ahead and paint. It's not going to be too crazy. We'll go ahead and probably remove that trim piece, the brown trim piece right there. But this is all going to be fine. I don't think we're going to have any issues. It's also a very small amount of the car that's not going to be, fully accessible. So I think we're going to be okay. I'm only going to paint the outsides of the doors here because the interior, it has, a bunch of stuff on it that I want to deal with, and also getting the spray gun like down underneath to get underneath the car where nobody's going to see. It's just going to be a hassle, and I don't really mind if this section here is not painted because it's going to be very, very few times that you actually look at that specific section. I am going to go ahead and leave this chrome trim piece and the door handle on both of the doors. I can't figure out how to easily remove this chrome trim piece. So that'll be something down the road, I guess, if I ever wanted to go ahead and touch this up. But I did test it out, and I can get this blue painter's tape all the way up to the edge. So we're going to have a crisp line, so I don't think there's going to be any issues there. Same thing with around this door handle. Super, super crisp lines. I don't think that it's going to look bad in any regard. Obviously, I would love to remove those if I could, but it's not worth my time, and it's too difficult for the result that we're going to get. So all that to say, we're almost done. We're almost ready to go ahead and start spraying some primer on here. I think we're looking really, really good. The other side of the car is really good as well. So yeah, I wanted to go ahead and update you guys. I am going to go ahead and actually change the color. So if you remember, I think it was at the beginning of the first video, I was talking about the paint colors we were going to use. And I said originally I was going to use Honda Championship White because it's a nice off-the-shelf cheap paint that you can get. And due to a series of, call them fortunate or unfortunate events, the paint that I had ordered just did not come in. I ordered a bunch of paint from Eastwood, and then I was like, this is taking way too long. They said it was going to be like a month and a half to get. So I canceled the order, and then they still shipped it out, and then they only apparently shipped out like a couple quarts out of like the multiple that I ordered. So it's like this whole thing back and forth. All that to say is that I don't really want to use that paint anymore, and I don't have enough of it to use. So I went ahead and ordered a new paint, and it is a GM metallic white. So it's going to look really good. I think it has a pearlescent coat in it, so it's not just metallic, it's also like the yellows and reds. But it's a small flake from what I can tell, which I really, really appreciate. I don't really usually like large flake car paints. So I think it's going to look great. There's going to be a few sections that we paint black, and I'm looking at the Ford Tuxedo black. It's the same kind of thing, a small metallic pearlescent. We're going to paint this here in black. The Yoshida bumper has a couple like a built-in diffuser in it. We'll go ahead and paint the underside of that black. And then the front bumper, not on the car, but we will paint a few sections of that to the same black as well. So I think in the end, we're going to look really, really good. We're going to have a nice metallic white on the car, and we're going to have a nice metallic black in a few accent areas. Very, very understated. I am going to paint the hood white. I think that's going to look the cleanest. The Panda look is fun, but I don't think it's quite for me. So all that to say, we're very close. I'm going to go ahead and clean this up. It's still really dusty, so I got to clean off all of the dust. I got to clean up a couple of those special areas like I was talking about, and then we should be good to go ahead and start laying some primer down. So I got to go ahead and also, mask off a couple areas like the interiors of the doors, any of like the bottom of the sill here. I just kind of have it folded in at the moment. We'll go ahead and mask those off fully so we can really get some good primer coverage in here. We really want to go ahead and get all the way perfectly bonded to this metal so we don't end up with the cracking that we had on the previous paint job because they just didn't prepare this properly. So let's go ahead. I'm just going to jump right into that, stop talking about things and just do it. And I'll let you guys see how it turns out. So let's go ahead and jump to that. All right, guys, if you can tell, we have primer on the car and it is looking really, really good. So I think I misspoke earlier, and I think I said that we wanted to put some sealer primer on this first. That's the wrong order. You put epoxy primer on, and then I put a high fill primer on here because I want to go ahead and sand this out. And then down the line, I'm going to put the sealer primer on top of that. Just because I didn't want to sand off the sealer primer when I have all this high build here, then I need to go ahead and sand smooth. So that's my next step in the process. You guys aren't going to see that in this video. It'll probably be another video for you guys, but that's going to be the next thing to do. I'm really happy with how this has come out so far. Obviously, the high build primer kind of leaves some streaks around here, and I actually changed colors right there, so that's kind of what that line is. But once this is sanded down with a nice, I think I'm going to use 600 or 800 grit, this should look really, really nice and smooth. We'll go ahead and put the sealer primer on top of that, and that's just going to help the paint from seeping into the primer. It's going to give us a better base to work with, so we don't have to use quite as much paint. But yeah, so it's looking really good. I went ahead and painted the entirety of the sills on both sides, all the way around where the trim stripping goes. The doors are looking really nice as well. So I am just genuinely super excited. I have a little bit of body work to do, mostly on this other side. I think that's the only place that I have body work. Right there, you can see that there's a little dent, and then over here, right on the corner right there, you can see there's a little dent. So we're gonna go ahead and fill those in. Well, I'm gonna fill those in tomorrow, and then we'll hit some seam sealer as well, and then we'll smooth this all out, and then get some sealer primer on, and it'll be ready to shoot with color. So everything has been taking a little bit longer than I was expecting because I've never done this before, and so it has been a process. But I'm generally happy with this. So basically, I think I mentioned dates earlier in this video for when I wanted to do things and when things were coming out. And well, they're just wrong now because I've already shot way past those deadlines. So today is Saturday the 7th of December. I'm going to try to edit this video tonight for you guys so you can see this tomorrow, Sunday the 8th. If you're watching it tomorrow, Sunday the 8th, hello, nice to see you. This is almost exactly where the car is at this very moment when you're watching it. So tomorrow, I'm obviously going to keep doing body work. But all that to say is that hopefully over this next week, I can get all of this sanded down to a nice, very smooth surface. I don't know if I can show you guys. There's a few places where there's like a little bit of like scratches. Specifically in this area, you might be able to see how wavy it is. Like that's not the paint color, that's physical wave in the metal. So we are going to need to go ahead and kind of get this all nice and flat again. But yeah, so the timeline is next Friday. I don't know what the date is for that. Fingers crossed, we are going to be putting color on this car. So I should have that day off work, which means that I can spend all day prepping and getting ready for this. It also means I have the rest of this week to go ahead and get everything perfect. I could have probably done color tomorrow, Sunday, but I want to do this right, even though we're doing it like, not super professional because it's my first time. I'm not necessarily using all the perfect 100% stuff. I do want to do as best of a job as I can with what I have. So we're gonna go ahead and clean this car up for the rest of the week, get everything exactly the way that we want it. And then that means next Friday we should have just a blank canvas ready to spray with color. So I'm really excited. It's also going to allow me to have a bit of time to experiment with the gun, the spray gun, because it is a Spectrum gun from Harbor Freight. And even though it's not cheap, I think that I want to go ahead and test it first, make sure that I know what I'm doing with it because it's my first time, obviously. And there's a couple settings on it like the fluid flow rate, and then also like spray pattern. So I want to go ahead and kind of look at those, adjustments, work on them and see how they actually look, how they pertain to me. And then, that way when we go ahead and actually go to spray, we're going to just hit the ground running. So I am really, really excited, guys. Thank you for watching this whole process. If you are watching it tomorrow, Sunday, I'm really excited for this because this is happening kind of like at the last possible second. It is, it's starting to get cold. I probably could wait, another couple of weeks because I've been able to heat this area up pretty well. But I'm just so excited to have this in its finishing stages. Just getting ready to put this all back together and call it a finished car, as much as a project car can never be finished. So all that to say, guys, I am very excited and I'm gonna go ahead and get this together, get this video together for you guys, and I'll see you guys hopefully next Friday in a live stream of painting this car. So as always, if you have any questions or comments, drop them down below, and I'll see you guys next week.